every time you create, it heals the hands that it moves through first. So out of all of the books I've written and the courses I've created and all of the stuff I've made over the years, primarily it helps me and it heals me. And then it's just this enormous blessing that it happens to help others as well.
Welcome to Witch Talks, the series for spiritual seekers, witches, and enlightened souls. I'm Hana the Suburban Witch, professional tarot reader, astrologer, and witch, and I hope you're ready to get up close and personal with your favourite witches. Hello, beautiful. Lovely to have you back with me here today as I chat with the glorious Leonie Dawson. We're going to be talking about success in spiritual business. That's what I've titled it. It was kind of a difficult title to come up with because we don't really specifically talk about spiritual business, but we do talk about business stuff and how combining spirituality or combining the kind of woo-woo language that I'm sure a lot of you like or use or want to use doesn't mean you won't have success in business. Does that make sense? It makes sense in my brain. So you're here, you're enjoying this podcast. I'm going to guess it's going to make sense in your brain too. And if it doesn't, I don't know, feel free to email me. Couple of things I want to mention about Leonie though. She's incredible. She's very, 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 very incredibly prolific in what she creates. She has like so many things out there. I've popped a link in the description box that will take you to the Business Academy because that's my personal recommendation. I am in her Business Academy. It's incredible. I take at least one of her course offerings every month to help with my own business learning. But you could take multiple per month for years and probably never get through it all. Like there's so much in there. It's wonderful. She also offers a bunch of free stuff. She's got a podcast, all that jazz. And actually last week, she posted on her Facebook page this glorious talk that she gave. Now, the talk was given at Tash Corbin's Heart-Centered Business Conference. And I think it really highlights the spiritual side to Leonie that we talked about it. We talk about it. You'll hear in the episode very shortly. But that talk she gives at this conference is like deep dive spiritual side of Leonie. So if you're interested in that, it goes for about 42 minutes. It is really beautiful. It is really moving. It is really deep. I will link that as well below. Lastly, don't forget, we have behind the scenes episodes available for society members. Leonie and I kept on chatting about like Bridgerton and all sorts of stuff and parenting and sniffing babies' heads, and it got weird and wacky and wonderful. And you can't access that. You're missing out if you're not a society member. So come on down, come and join us. It is super duper fun. What have you got to lose? It's like $30 for a month and you can go and inhale all of the contents. And you'll probably end up sticking around because most of my members do. They've been with me for years and we become really good friends. In fact, I just got back from Europe where I met up with one of my society members, Brandy, and we had a great time. We had a blast. I will tell you a little bit more about Europe at the end of this episode. But for now, let's jump on in. In this episode, I'm chatting with Leonie Dawson, an international best-selling author of the My Brilliant Year workbooks, which were formerly known as the Goal Getter workbooks, and they've been used by over 500,000 people worldwide. She is a fabulous, multi-passionate entrepreneur, and she's generated over $14 million in revenue, but only working 10 hours a week. It's the dream. Leonie helps gorgeous humans build wildly profitable, high-integrity businesses with heart. And today I'm going to be talking to her about how a unicorn-loving hippie can manage to continually grow her business year after year by creating a soulful and soul-aligned creative business. I'm so looking forward to sharing Leonie's work and her wisdom with you today. So let's get into it. She is joining us via Zoom all the way from the sunny coast here in Australia. Hello, Leonie. How are you today?
Oh, Hannah, it's such a joy to be able to be here with you. And you just look, if people aren't watching the video right now and only the audio, like I want you to know, like Hannah looks incredibly cute. Like there's this whole fluffy jumper situation and like some teal and some pinks, and it's just actually really delighting me. So I wish you could see with my eyes.
I've got this like pink crocheted cardigan with sheep on it, big bulky sheep additions, and it's glorious. It's my favorite cardigan. I adore it. So thank you for noticing and
Oh,
appreciating
a
as well.
perfection, my friend. I appreciate any effort anyone ever puts into anything, and color just makes me so happy.
Yes, color is my life. Like I think it took me almost 30 years to dye my hair pink after always saying things like, I'd love to dye my hair pink. Oh, I wish I could dye my hair pink, and on repeat over and over until finally one day I went, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to dye my hair pink. And I did it, and I've never looked back ever.
Babes.
It's the
Yes.
best.
I genuinely didn't notice that you had pink hair. I just thought it was like a natural sort of situation. You know what I
Just
mean? So it's
naturally pink.
obviously just what you're supposed to be, right? Like it's just like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's her hair, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, my kids think it is natural because they just mum has pink hair, and
yeah,
I'm here for that. So yes,
yeah.
this is just
Awesome.
me.
That's
It's
the
an
yeah,
extension
that's
of
the
me.
illusion
Yes.
we hope to propagate.
Oh, I feel bad. They're going to be that like kid that grows up and goes, oh yeah, my mum's got like naturally pink hair, and then wait a minute, has she been dyeing it this whole time? They're going to
This
feel,
whole time, mother.
you lied to me. All right, so I wanted to start by pulling an oracle card for you today. I picked a deck that I thought it just screamed Leonie. And the reason I thought it screamed you was because I've taken a bunch of your courses and I'm in your business academy. I'm all over it. So I feel like I have a good vibe for what you might like. This is called the Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle.
Oh my God. Amazing.
It is, if you can't see it, guys, it makes me think of like a retro futuristic space odyssey, but Barbie.
Yes. This is hilarious.
It's
Okay.
so
And
good.
like, this is where like, one, I'm very into this situation. And two, I think it's also hilarious because I have an alien phobia.
I didn't know that part. Oh my
That's
goodness. Well,
okay. Like, it's not, I still want you to pull the cards anyway. Like, it's completely fine. I just think it's hilarious. Like, obviously, like, I'm acclimating to it. And also, my assistant, Zeta, desperately wants to be abducted by aliens. And I love her so much. I said, I'm so willing to overlook the whole alien phobia thing in order to ensure that you meet your dreams. Like, I will be there with like little light beacons, like channeling them down and going, like, yeah, she wants you. Like she
yeah.
wants you, you know what I mean? Like it might not be like my favorite thing, but if she wants that, then I want that. So obviously, like I have to just continue to build my immunity up
Mm-hmm.
so that I can
Mm-hmm.
help her like be like achieve her dreams, right?
Well, I'm happy to help you with this dream by acclimating you to nice looking aliens in this deck.
They look stunning. They look so stunningly beautiful.
They're gorgeous. And this is an Australian deck creator as well. Ali Grant is the creator. She's glorious. She does lots of like goddessy themed lady dream style
Oh,
decks,
dude,
which
I'll
is
have to check
wonderful.
her out.
Yes. So let me get some little guidance for you. Let's see. All right. So it is an alien one. I will prime you for that one because there's some aliens and some are cowgirls because it's the cowgirls and aliens deck. And this one is called the telepath. So I'm going to show you the
Ooh.
image and I'll explain it to everyone who's listening. It has this glorious four-armed alien with vitiligo as well. So we've got some representation in there. She has this gorgeous afro and this third eye that is like a beacon out to the stars. One hand is on her heart, one hand is on her stomach, and the other two hands rest on her knees. So I would love to see how people are imagining that in their heads. Now, the comment at the bottom here says, I am compassionate and will show others understanding and respect. And you know what is glorious about this? I just did in preparation for grounding myself for this interview because I'm just generally a hyped up individual. I did your Midas Touch day one golden egg meditation to sit myself into chatting with you. And this kind of looks a little bit like what you described in that there's almost this egg shape around and
Mm.
definitely this like golden light coming in through that third eye. And the hands are
Mm.
exactly where you said to place them right at the end. You
Hmm.
go through the crown, the third eye, heart, the stomach, and then on your legs as well. So that feels really interesting. But I think for you, this is probably just a nod as well to the fact that you really do have this connection to something otherworldly, this connection to something spiritual that you really bring through. And it doesn't really matter in time or space when you film it, record it, present it, but it still is at the right time. Does that make sense?
Mm,
So I think
that's
that's,
beautiful.
yeah, it feels really aligned and gorgeous. When did you, just as a side note, off track already, when did you create the Midas Touch meditations for that little course that you did?
That where I created those last year. It's one of my like more newer
Mm-hmm.
ones, and it was one of those divine mission kind
Mm.
of ones. And it was fascinating because I'd already spent like many months leading up to that healing a belief that I'd like for a while I'd been like really wrestling with the idea that I'd lost my Midas touch, and it
Mm.
had come up in um different like sessions and things like that. And I'd been healing it and working through that and unwinding a bunch of the stuff around that. And then they were like, oh, we're like, the angels were like, okay, we're going to do a program, and it's like 11-day meditation course. And I was like, I haven't done a meditation course and like, I haven't taught it in like 10 years. And it's like, no, no, it's fine. It's going to be called Midas Touch. And it's going to be like part of like all of the lessons that you've learned on this journey. So it was really incredibly beautiful and healing for me to create it. And then I sort of just offered it up to the world, not really with a huge amount of expectation. But it was beautiful the way that it was received by people, and that it was the right thing for them as well.
Mm-hmm. And I can attest to the fact that it's still being received beautifully because I received beautifully when I've been going through it. And did it feel scary when you got that almost mission to create that, or did it feel easy and aligned?
A bit of both. I was like, how the fuck are you expecting me to pull that off when it's something that like have really struggled with and have been like actively in the process of healing? And I feel like I'm kind of coming out the other side of it, but I don't feel like I'm like most resolved about it. And then another part of me is like, remember, Leonie, this is a part of the creative process, and it's a part of how you've always worked with your spirituality, is to process whatever you've learned into a new creation and offer it up to the world. And that every time you create, it heals the hands that it moves through first. So, out of all of the books I've written and the courses I've created and all of the stuff I've made over the years, primarily it helps me and it heals me. And then it's just this enormous blessing that it happens to help others as well.
I absolutely adore that. And I feel that as well. I recently created a class on helping people deconstruct from the rapture doctrine. And even though I already knew going into it, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to add this in and this in and this in, the research process and putting it together took me down a billion rabbit holes I didn't expect and healed so much more in me than I even expected for myself. And then I got to give that to other people to go through that same experience. So I totally hear you on that. And I think that sometimes is part of how creativity is meant to go. It does. It almost filters through us first, which is beautiful. So
Mm,
thank you for
mm,
sharing that. With the reason I asked if it was scary was because in your meditation, there's this question of, what am I here to do? What's the next thing? And the thing that dropped in for me was very scary because I was like,
mm,
how do I do that? It was this like vision almost of giving a TED talk, and it's not the first time that that's come up for me, and it's terrifying, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that. So I've actually written it down on my planner to look into, but yes, also very scary and big and
mm,
all that jazz.
mm.
Not bad,
Massively
just
so.
big.
Do it. Yes. It's still meant to scare you because you're meant to grow in that process, right? Like
Yes.
we don't get assigned projects that are just going to be like easy peasy, slap that one out. Like it's going to be, oh my God, I have that exact mug. That's so
Do you?
funny.
The Quirky Cup
Yeah.
Collective?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it's the best. I made an order yesterday from Sidoni, who is another Australian creative, and I've invited her on the podcast to chat as well because she makes like tarot pouches. I'll
Hmm.
hold mine up. I've got a little Virgo one. She makes tarot pouches for your cards when the card deck holder package falls apart. She makes like Kindle sleeves and like stickers for zodiac
Her
signs. Just so cool.
journals are delicious. Like there's just
Gorgeous.
so much.
She's
She's
amazing.
exquisite. Yeah.
I love her.
Her stickers, like
Yes.
everything.
All right. So I did want to say, bringing myself back on track, that you describe yourself as a self-confessed hippie who loves rainbows and unicorns. Love that. But what led you to become the Leonie that you've become today? And how did that process help you as a business owner as well?
I think there's like the two parts of me, like the two kind of soulmates inside of me that needed to come together in order to create what I wanted to create in the world. So the first part that was has always been very present since forever is the creative part. And I knew at a really young age that I wanted to be a creative. I wanted to be an artist or a writer or a poet or somebody who changed the world. I wanted to be involved in that process, and dedicate myself to that process. And I grew up with very pragmatic farmer parents, and I'm very grateful for that. And they said, you can't do that as a career because all artists are starving. And so you need to have a good office job. And I thought, well, if I'm going to not get to do the thing that I want, then I might as well just go second best. And for me, second best was to become Prime Minister of Australia because I'm
Yeah.
quite an ambitious person. So when I was 20, I moved to Canberra and I started taking public policy degree at Australian National University. I worked in government departments. I got to work in the secretary's office, which is like the CEO of like a 4,000, 5,000 person department. I got to work in Parliament House, in ministerial offices. And that was like an amazing experience. Like, at the age of like 21, I was doing this kind of crazy stuff. And it was beautiful. And I also got to see really, really clearly that it wasn't something that I was meant to do for the rest of my life because I wasn't able to bring all of myself into that work. And also, politicians work incredibly hard and very, very long hours. Like during sitting weeks, it's pretty usual for them to be working from 6 a.m. to midnight. And that is like with round the clock meetings and social stuff and those kinds of things, and also to receive an enormous amount of criticism and hate on a daily basis. And I knew that I just wouldn't be able to thrive in that environment whatsoever. It would break me. I don't have a thick skin. Like my skin's like paper thin. Like it's like, my nerves reach out beyond there. And my sensitivity is one of the most beautiful parts about me. I didn't want to like have to be calloused over in order to thrive. And so by the time I was maybe 23 or 24, I was like, I need to be an artist. And I remember I flew home to the farm. My dad picked me up at the airport and I said, I need to tell you something. I've had a big think and I've decided I actually am going to be an artist. And he said, well, there's no money in that, is there? And I said, well, you're right. And you're a farmer, and your father was a farmer, and his father was a farmer, and there is no money in farming either. So I guess I just come from a really long line of dreamers. Like you can't put it past me. And
Yeah.
he said, "Oh, you think you're funny, don't you?" And I said,
I
"Yes, I do. Thank you."
think you're funny too.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so it was a really bold declaration to do that of mine. And it felt quite scary because I was somebody who really wanted to make my parents proud, but I knew I just couldn't in that environment. So that was like, right, okay, I need to work out this whole business thing. And I discovered that I didn't have that business part that I needed in order to have a creative business and in order to create money from it. So that was when I really had to start developing those muscles and developing that part of myself that understood about business and marketing and money and systems and finances and things like that. And knowing that even though I wasn't born naturally inclinated in that direction, it was those were skills I needed to learn in order to have a vessel that took my work out to the world.
Mm. That is
like even just imagining you in politics now just feels so antithetical to what you are. Like it's it's so
Mm,
vibrant, and politics to me doesn't feel vibrant. I'm sure there might be
mm,
aspects,
mm,
maybe somewhere. I think you've definitely found your path now, 100%.
mm,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's ruined me for having an actual job.
I say that all the time as well. Once you run your own business, you're like, oh my God, I can never be hired again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people presume that when you run a business and you start to touch on topics that are things of a spiritual nature, like manifesting or soulful sort of language, that it's an automatic way to not be taken seriously in business. And probably also, like your dad said, not to make any money for anything creative as well, creative and spiritually. They kind of get lumped in that same bucket, I guess. But here you are with business courses titled Money Manifesting and Multiple Streams of Income. And then you've got your Midas Touch, which is 11 days of soulful meditations and messages to make everything you touch turn to gold, which, by the way, I will put links to all of these in the description if you're like listening and going, oh my gosh, I must have that. So, what do you have to say to folks who still hold the belief that running a business that is soulful and uses this spiritual language and uses creative language, doesn't make money or can't be taken seriously? What would you have to say to them?
I mean, that's totally fine. Like my bank account begs to differ. It's fine. Like I really don't mind if you think that.
Yeah.
And just like I just am not here to replicate a professional environment. I'm here to create the business and the life that is really true for me and resonates with me and the whole wide expanse of that experience. Because the fact is, like being in business, being in life, it's this massive like personal development journey and spiritual journey. And the more that you can try out different tools and see what works for you and what doesn't, and wholeheartedly accept and celebrate what works for you, then the better off you are. So, for example, for me as a business owner, I have learned that having just a one-to-one like business coach doesn't really work for me. Doing cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't really work for me. And that's also partly because cognitive behavioral therapy is not gold standard for autistic people like myself. And instead, having somebody like a kinesiologist or an intuitive healer, a more sort of woo positive psychology, like psychic person that I work with every 2 weeks or so just to clear whatever energy is coming out, whatever is going on in my mindset that's making me a bit funky, whatever can help me to stay on the right path. That's like the best investment for me in my business. So I spend, and I have for 10 plus years, like between, let me think about how much would I spend as a maximum amount. At the moment, it's probably like 10 to 15 grand a year. That doesn't include courses or books. That's just for the coaching, with like the spiritual coaching. But I think I've probably spent up to 25, 30 grand, maybe more a year, when like times have been busier. So I'm all about just like deeply knowing what I need and completely giving it to myself. And that's going to look really different for everybody.
Mm. And I'm sure a lot of people that come to you for what you're offering, like myself, are other people who are creative and other people who are spiritual, but almost feel allergic to business stuff.
Mhm.
Did you ever feel allergic to it, or did it just kind of you just took it on and like jumped on that horse and ran with it? Like how
No,
did you
I was
how did you
definitely
meld
felt
the two?
I definitely felt like enormously allergic to it. And so for me, like I had to really like find the people that spoke my language and that I
Mhm.
resonated with. And I still need to today. Like I know that like one, I don't really like learning from like male teachers, like cis males. They're just not it for me in terms of teaching. I'd always rather learn from a woman or non-binary person, somebody who shares those values of like heart-centered ethical marketing and really giving a shit about what they do. So I remember like the very first like program that I bought, there was like a very distinct decision between like somebody, a person who was very kind of professional, wore the jackets, the suit jackets in all of her profession, like her profile shots, obviously had quite a bit of like plastic surgery done, that kind of situation, which is totally cool if that's your thing. But I'm like, can barely manage to brush my hair. So not really a value of mine. And then there was another person who was like deeply into like esoteric work and more of a like a yoga teacher kind of vibe. And I was like, yoga teacher vibe, like I'm too freaked out by the ultra like
Hmm.
that route. It just wasn't it for me. Um, and so I went the the yogi person for a while. And sometimes I flirt with like a little bit more like straight natured teachers, but they're usually it's usually just for like one topic or whatever, not like as a
Mm.
wholehearted, like that's somebody I want to emulate and be and really connect with the energy of.
Yeah. And for anyone who was, let's say, starting out now and wanting to open a business or start charging for readings or that sort of area and feeling very much like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like, how do people even begin to build a business? Do you have advice for someone who might be in that like beginning stages?
Mm. Firstly, it's like you get to like the beginning stages of the business are really exciting and fun because you get to play and experiment and see what works for you and see what doesn't. And try all the different things. Like I remember when I was first like playing in my business, I did things like wedding photography and portraiture, and I ran like a spiritual 3-day retreat on a farm. I'd never been to a retreat before, but sure, I ran one when I was 23 years old. Like amazing, like get it, Patty. Um, I did tarot card readings in person and online, and I blogged, and I did art at markets, and I helped a friend organize like this massive spiritual expo, and whatever felt like the next right thing to explore, I just did it. And you get to learn so many more lessons from doing the thing than thinking about doing the thing. So wherever, if you've got an idea for doing something, I recommend just like trying to like do it as soon as possible so that you can know whether it's the thing that you always want to do, or you want to try more in this direction, or if it's just like nah, that wasn't really for me. Just sitting around thinking about it doesn't actually give you that information, and it's also just not that exciting to just think
Mm.
about something and always be like, what if? You could just try it.
I love that advice because it also goes against every other form of business advice, which is usually you need to find your unique value proposition and then create all of this stuff. And like that's where my brain switches off as well.
I want to die when I think about that. No, you can just play an experiment and try
Yes.
shit out. Like, how are you supposed to know until you go there? I also don't have a niche. I don't
Mm.
have a unique selling proposition. My niche is whoever likes this personality. Cool. The red velvet rope is open to you. People who don't like this personality, they're not for my business. So
Hmm.
whatever. And I've created literally hundreds of programs now and so many different books and creations and weird shit I've made over the years. And I couldn't give a shit about like only servicing one person or having one message. Like it's going to
Hmm.
evolve over time. I've been doing this for 20 friggin' years.
Yes. That actually reminds me. I nearly died laughing. I think I was listening to you on one of your podcasts. No, maybe it was, I can't remember where it was, but you mentioned how you play and just try different things. And one day you've decided to release an ebook on how to be a domestic goddess.
Mm, perfect. Yes.
It was empty
Yeah.
because it was a joke book. That tickles my unique humor. I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard of. But I can imagine a lot of people being like, oh, what is this? Did you get
It
any
was all
pushback from that? Or did you get like lots of extra people coming on and going like, yes, this is amazing?
it was mostly a lot of confused emails from people just saying, I'm so sorry, but your book has got an error in it. There's nothing in it. It was called, and I thought it was like quite obviously named it's called How to Be a Domestic Goddess. Everything I know about keeping my house and kitchen in order whilst being a mama goddess, a business goddess, and a creative goddess. Like I just want to say, like, I'm already quite busy, guys. Like, I've got other things and interests on my plate. You know what I mean? And then, like, it sort of went into it, and then it was just like blank. And then, but if you kept on scrolling, if you just kept on scrolling, many pages in, it was like, haha, get it? Because I don't know shit, guys, and I don't care because I've got other things to do with my life. Like, let's just like stop having houses that need to look like Pinterest is about to do in a photo shoot of you and it's going to go in an architectural digest. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. I love going to my friends' houses when they're messy. I feel right at home. Like I can just sit on top of the laundry pile if you want, or if you just want me to like just push them to the side and wedge myself in, it's quite comfortable. I'm very comfortable with that.
I love it. I love it. And this is probably why I am also a big customer of yours. Because
You get it.
I
You
get
get
it.
it.
I get it. I'm there with you. So if you were to recommend some tools for other people to take on, tools in your toolbox for being someone who hasn't, I guess, hasn't given up on their creative and their spiritual sides, what are some tools that work well with you in business?
Firstly, it's recognizing that you don't have to do business like anybody else. And you don't have to run everything through social media marketing if that's not like a thing that you're particularly called to. If you do use social media marketing, like you need to be very, very strategic about how much time you spend on there and the results that you get from it. I think people who start businesses now look at think that one, social media marketing is compulsory. It's not. Uh, people forget that there is literally thousands of ways for you to market your business, and all of them are completely optional, including social media marketing, and that there are other marketing methods out there that are often take a way less time than social media marketing, have way less effect on your mental health, and create much more results for your business in terms of actual sales. So if you're like, I still want to do social media, totally fine. But one, really think about batching content. Two, track the actual sales that you get through there. And three, make sure that you're doing marketing methods outside of social media as well to ensure that your business is very robust against any algorithm changes. And lastly, you really want to be building up your mailing list. Like the vast majority of my sales come through my mailing list. It has, I've spent decades like building and nurturing my mailing list. You don't have to spend decades. Like you can start selling to it from day one. But it is like a big investment for me because I have so many sales from there. We also know statistically, and this is not just in my business, this is sort of industry wide, but somebody on your mailing list is 40 times more likely to buy from you than a social media follower. So I think people like think so much about the social media numbers as though that's the prime metric of success in your business, and it's not. The prime metric for success in your business is your revenue and your profit margins. So, being very clear on that and also recognizing, like, oh, well, if I want 40 times more sales, then perhaps I should spend more time on building and nurturing my mailing list instead. That's the
Mm-hmm.
big thing that I would say as your crotchety Aunt Leonie, who's been building an online business since before social media was invented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've been through it all because you
Yeah,
started out when blogging was like the big thing, and now blogging's
where it
coming back.
was, I know. And like, this is like when blogging was just invented as well. Before blogging, I was on PHP BB, which is a like old form bulletin boards um, on the internet. It was in the olden days, my darling.
I don't know what that
You're probably
is.
too young. You're too young for this. It's okay. It's hard to explain, really.
I haven't heard of it. Like, I think the earliest form of it's not really blogging, but it is kind of blogging. I used to have like a Zanga blog. Do you remember those?
Ooh,
Like that's old
gosh.
school.
That's really
That's
cute of you.
that's
Good on
old school.
you.
That was in high school. It was a private one where I talked shit about people, and then they found it. It was not good. That was
Yeah.
teenage lesson number one for Hannah.
Yeah. That's where you went with that. Yeah.
Yes,
Whereas when
yeah,
I was a teenager, that was literally when we got the internet. So good on
yeah,
us. It was very
yeah.
exciting.
And we had MySpace where we did the like coding and put our music on and all of that.
Oh
So
God, that was a sexy era, wasn't it?
that was wish we had that. I mean, not the ranking the friends part. I don't think that was good for anybody.
No,
But the rest
no.
of it was good. That was the good old
Yeah,
days. But yeah,
yeah.
your course on social marketing without social media was fantastic because as someone who I think I got lucky. I got in on TikTok at a perfect time when there
Mhm,
wasn't a lot of people on there creating. So
mhm,
anything I created did really well. And that
mhm.
got me a lot of success until it just sort of stopped and started to trickle off.
Yeah,
And then you become the hamster on the wheel.
yeah.
And that is tiring and
Yes.
exhausting. And I'm also neurodivergent, but I'm also disabled. So it was not fun to try and juggle all of that and thinking it was the only thing out there that was going to get me business because it had been for so long. So
Mhm.
thanks to your course, I actually created my very first flyer and put it down at the community center the other day. And I felt
Yes.
very, very vulnerable walking in and being like, I have a flyer. Can I please put it in here? And they were just like, yeah, sure. I was like, oh, that was easy. And it's done. It's
Right.
there. It just sits there.
And honestly, like people are like flyers, and I'm like, do you realize like the amount of like the conversion rate on those things is so much better. And it's gonna, it takes a little while to see the results of it, but it's so much better than spending the next 20 hours of your life doing content creation,
Mhm.
like in the vague hope that some motherfucker's gonna see it and buy something.
Yes. And I specifically made it so I tried to do it with a QR code on it so that they could just like quickly take a photo and then go on with it if they didn't want to pick it up as well, because it is
Mhm.
on the deconstructing from the rapture. But I put it in there because they actually also hold church services in there. And I thought there might be someone who's questioning but doesn't want to be seen questioning. They can just take a quick pic and, it
What
was
a
a
service. I'm so
strategic.
proud of you. I'm so this
You.
that is a very good strategic decision because you're thinking about where are my people already hanging out?
That's what you ask on
Uh,
the marketing plan. I was like, where are they? They're hanging out at church. How do I get that flyer into the church? At the
that's
community center.
right. That is right. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm
Yes,
so proud
yes.
of you for
Thank
doing
you.
that.
I'm proud of you for making that course.
Oh, it was like it was just such a blessing because I remember taking deciding like a few years ago that I wanted to do like 21-day challenges of all the different habits I wanted to try out, but not necessarily keep because I knew that if I was like, right, well, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, like I'll never do it. But if I go, I'll just do it for 21 days, I can do a sprint. I just can't do marathons. And so I made up like a whole list of ideas of 21-day things I wanted to try out, like 21 days of meditating every single day and 21 days of journaling and um, 21 days of no social media. And I did this no social media one first, and I felt really anxious doing it. And I realized, like, oh, this is quite a strong addiction in some way because I don't feel like I can do it. And I did it anyway because I thought 21 days, so you get a shit. And it was so enormously healing in such a short period of time. I thought there's no way that I can go back anytime soon. So I ended up taking 2 full years off social media personally and for my business. My business made over $2 million during that time. I had a fucking great time. And then people are always like, oh, but you've come back. And I'm like, yeah, that's because after quite a bit of soul searching, I had been having this creative nudge that I wanted to make some stupid videos. And I felt like I couldn't because like the places to, share those stupid videos was social media. And so I was like, well, I can't because that's my rule. And then my own rule like became this constriction for me and I don't do well with
Mhm.
constriction. So I was like, right, okay, I'll just try out using it again and see if I can continue doing it in a way that is sane and profitable and doesn't really take any of my time. And to be honest, I don't really remember that I'm on social media because everything that you see from me is batch created and scheduled. And I actually don't look at any of my social media.
Yeah, I have taken a big step back. People who have followed me for a while might have noticed I've been posting far less frequently, but it hasn't yet changed anything in my business.
Hmm.
So that was a good little, like, if I just step back a little bit, see what
Hmm.
happens. And I've also made use of things like pinning certain posts so that if someone finds my content, they go there. That information's always there. I'm not constantly having to put it up there. And that has also been helpful. So, but I am enjoying Threads. I will put that out there. Threads
Oh,
has
good on
been
you.
fun because it's like the old school stuff. It's just putting your thoughts out into the ether
Mm.
and then sometimes people reply to them. So that has
Yeah,
been like pre bad Twitter days. That's what it feels like.
good on you. It's so nice when
Mm.
you find a spot that just works beautifully for you.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel as bad. Like I feel like I'm just reading because it's not all the videos and all of that. They haven't made
Mm.
it over there. It's
Mhm.
really just people putting their thoughts
Mm.
out into the world, which is good.
Yeah, and it does seem like probably a little bit more left-leaning, sort of
At the moment,
creative.
yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because the right wings can keep going on X.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So lastly, you get everything done in 10 hours a week.
Mm.
This blows my mind. I don't conceptualize how that works and how you're so prolific because you're very prolific. You have a lot of output a lot of things you put out into the world.
Mm.
What is the secret?
The secret is there's a lot of busy work that you could be doing, but you don't have to do. It's completely optional. And it's like when I said, that there's not one way that you have to do business, and you can actually just be very strategic about it and really be clear on like what actually drives the business and what doesn't. And so what can I just opt out of completely? What can I batch the remainder of? What can I automate using software? And then like there's some small parts that I delegate. Delegation is not like the first step. I always like I've got a course it's like work less and more. And people always think that the first step is just delegate, delegate, delegate. And that is absolutely not correct because when you delegate one, you have to always pay that person to do the thing. Two, you're not thinking about whether that task actually really needs to be fucking done. And
Mm,
three, there is the executive load for you of you assigning the task and making sure that it's done and it's done to the standard that you want. And you have to then manage the people that manage the resources who are doing that task. So there's actually like delegating is not like the easy solution. The first solution is like, can I just murder this task completely? Because it's actually not that important. It's not critical. It's not something that brings in revenue and it isn't something that provides value to customers. Um, so it can go fuck itself, basically. So a lot of tasks can be murdered. About 80% of your task list can be murdered, truth be told. They're just nice to haves and they're busy work. And
mhm,
if you like working a lot of hours, go for it. Whatever thrills you. But I would rather do less and have the same amount of impact, if not more, because I'm being more strategic about what's actually going to make a massive difference. When I look at my business, there are like the super producers of the things that actually give me results. And that is my mailing list. So sending out something to my mailing list that's free usually. And then when I'm in a launch mode, then obviously we're sending sales emails. I have my Brilliant Business Life Academy, which is where I create lots of programs. And there's like over 100 programs in there at the moment. And it's low cost. People can join it. We have 5,000 plus members. They get group coaching and new programs and access to all of my programs. And it's low cost. It's like $199 a year at the moment. So they get this enormous amount of value. But the way that I've structured it is doesn't take me that much time. It takes me 1 hour of coaching time a month.
mhm.
And then one new workshop each month, which probably takes me 5 hours to produce all up and record and send out because I'm just in the habit of that. I batch create all of our templates to go out. Our guest experts, we usually have one or two guest experts a month, and my assistant does all of the scheduling and organizing of that. So that's like the part that I delegated. Um, I don't really know like there's that much else to do in business. What else am
Mm.
I supposed to be doing? Like I do 2 hours of interviews a week usually.
Are you,
That's
I'm guessing you're not editing your own stuff that you're creating because that's for me, that's like my hugest time sink hole is editing
like video editing.
video and audio and all of those sorts of things. Or do you just do it all in one take?
So all of my programs, they just get done pretty much all in one take. I'm pretty good at that. Um,
I cannot. I am like I stop and then I sneeze and then my cat interrupts me and then I
oh,
forget where I'm
gotcha.
at and so I'm like cut throughout the whole
Yeah,
thing.
right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, the editing part, like, yeah, I mean, if you really want to like get to that level of it, mine like seems to run pretty seamlessly. I mean, if there is like stuff that needs to be cut up, then yeah, I'll just get my assistants to do it. So like with our
mm,
video podcast, I don't do all of the editing of that. We just outsource that. So sometimes my assistant does it and sometimes a videographer does it for us,
mhm,
depending on just how much of our workload we've got on. Yeah, that would consume more of my time. But again, it's really about like, do I need that part, all of it video edited in that like huge amount of detail, or is it just the social media clips or whatever that's going to go
mm,
out need to be edited to that level? So just being a bit thoughtful about like what's actually needed here and what's going to give maximum impact with overdoing it.
mhm. Well, I mean, I've just been inspired to go and assassinate some tasks, so that is wonderful. Hopefully, some other people as well have been.
Delicious. Yeah. I have the only way I've gotten to like $14 million in revenue in 10 hours a week is this. I have a really long task list of stuff that's just never been done. And it's not stuff that like I've owed clients. Like I've said to people, like, I will do this for you. And then I just don't.
Mhm,
Like, that's not how it works. I always deliver on what I'm going to do. But there's always like, I always have ideas of nice to haves. And what about if I did this? And then wouldn't it be great if blah, 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 blah. It just like, it just wasn't the big priority. It wasn't the thing that was going to get me maximum impact with minimum effort. So it just has to go fuck itself.
mhm. I think that's the best mindset ever. That sort of mindset, but also the my favorite thing that you say, which is having the confidence of a straight white male when you're
Mm.
trying to sell yourself, is some of the biggest takeaways I think from just how brilliant your brain is in merging your authenticness with like actual practical business knowledge. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Keep it up.
Oh, baby doll, you're the cutest. I know I did like I brought homework for today for everyone who's got like the video. I actually have Hannah's beautiful weekly planner, my desk pad, and so I actually plan out my week and I put it above my desk. So that's also a big success tip of mine,
Yay.
everyone.
It's a success tip of mine as well. Mine's right next to me. I adore it. And
Oh,
it's one of those things that it's like, I will just keep making this every year because I can't live without it. So
it's how my goal workbook
I know
started. I
it's
was like,
good,
I want
right?
this for myself. This is what's going
Yes.
to have to happen.
If I'm going to print it, I might as well print more of them for more people.
Exactly. Some friends are going to need this. They want
Yes.
this.
So, what is next on the cards for you? What is like your next big thing you're working on?
Oh, so I am not a planner in that way. Um,
Like, that is not me.
that's not for me. It's more of a we'll just wait. I'll get an idea and then I'll pull off a sales page and release it in the next few days. Like when the idea comes, and at the moment we're looking at another move, which is exciting. So I feel really
Mhm.
excited by that. We're looking at returning to Canberra, and I'm just
Oh,
so
literally.
my heart is so happy to be back in that land because I just love the nature spirits there so much. Like there's just
Mm.
something very special about there for me. So um I feel excited by that. I feel like I'm one of those people who's like a slow traveler because we've like lived all over Australia in the last 14 years. And we usually stay in places like between 6 months to 6 years and
Yeah.
like just shift house every couple of years. And it's just gorgeous. I feel so lucky that I've gotten to love all of
Mm.
Australia in that way. There's
We
more of
have
Australia I could live. So,
we have two, but we are confined to defence areas. So
oh,
that,
ooh,
but we do move very frequently. So
oh my gosh. I
yes,
didn't know this about you. That's
yes.
exciting.
My husband's in the
Maybe
RAF.
why don't you get posted to Canberra next? That's a good
Well, that
spot.
is actually one. Actually, it came up like last month. He's like called me and goes, "Would you prefer Canberra or going back to Sale in Victoria?" And I'm like, let me pull out my tarot cards." Quickly did some,
Yes.
and we ended up not getting that posting, which was kind of good because, like, medical wait lists, all the things that are happening right now. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to move next month. But the next posting will probably be one of those two places. So
Whoa, that's exciting.
potential.
That's exciting.
Potential.
My husband's an army brat, so he grew up
Oh, yeah.
being listed in all the places. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, not,
Yeah.
yeah, posted.
It is,
Yeah.
it is kind of lovely. Like my husband and I met overseas.
Mhm.
So we used to live in Canada. So we already started off with like this almost like transient energy within
Mm.
the relationship. And it has just kept on going. Like we've lived in Victoria, in WA, now in Queensland, like could go to Canberra, like it's all over. There could be overseas postings. Who knows? It's very exciting. I think for an online business person, and especially someone who is neurodivergent, especially with the ADHD part, the novelty of moving somewhere new can be really fun.
It's very
I get
delicious,
itchy
isn't it?
feet.
Mm. Mm. I always thought I would be some person that just like stayed in the same place forever. And it's actually been hilarious to discover, no, no,
Yep.
I'm not. Like you are lucky if you decide to keep a house for 2 years, Leonie.
Yeah. Okay. Same. We've been here 2.5 years. It's like the longest we've stayed in one place ever. And I'm like, wow, this feels
What?
old.
This old place. I've been here rattling around this for decades
It's
now.
funny because the house hasn't had like that thorough deep clean and declutter because we haven't moved. And that's usually when I do
No.
that.
Yes. Same. Same,
Wonderful
babes.
time.
Oh my God. You should totally have posted a camera and then we can just hang out. That would be
We
so
could be
fun. Oh my
friends,
God.
like
We
in
could
real
be
life.
actual friends. I think we should be friends.
I think so
Like
too.
not to be pushy, but we should be friends.
I agree. Well, you're not too
Perfect.
far now. You're only in the sunny coast, but it depends where
This
you
is
live.
true. This is true.
Because I'm just
Yeah.
down in Brizzy. But
Nice.
yes.
Nice.
Well, it has been so wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to chat with you. I'm sure you can tell, and everyone else knows that I only invite people on the podcast who have wisdom to share and are people that I admire and I love and I'm big fans of anyway. It's a great way to like meet my idols. I've really set my business up right. But thank you
It's
so much
like,
for sharing because I'm hoping it, shows you off to more people. It's been super fun for me. And then I think everyone gets to learn something, which is really beautiful.
oh, doll, what a joy. What a blessing. And aren't like podcast interviews just like the ultimate rort? Like we both have ulterior motives just to sit and chat with lovely people all day.
100%. This is why I'm like, oh, the podcast, I can't wait. Like when I go on break, I'm like, I can't wait to start recording for it again because it is so much fun. It's such a fun way to spend time and, get to know people and connect.
Mhm.
And connection is one
Mhm.
of my core business values. So I'm ticking that box 100%.
You are nailing it, and you're nailing it in a sheep outfit, which is
Yes.
actually really
Living the
important.
dream. Yeah, totally important. Get yourself a sheep outfit.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you so much for your time, and we'll chat to you all later.
Wasn't that amazing? I love her. She's so quirky. She's so fun. I adore her. And as I've said, her course offerings are impeccable. They're really easy to access. They're really easy to understand. And they're really actually practically helpful. God, I wish I looked at her chart. I wish I looked at Leonie's chart. She's got to have like Pisces, Capricorn energy in there. Lots of it. I did promise you that I would chat to you a little bit about Europe because if you didn't know, which if you didn't, you're probably not on my email list in the society or on my Instagram. But I went to Europe like a week and a half ago now. And I was only there for 3 weeks. It's a long way to go from Australia. It was like 28 hours on a plane. It's a really freaking long way. And I hate that part of it. But I went specifically to take a course in astrology at Exeter College in Oxford, which is like a dream come true. It was Hana heaven. It was flipping amazing. It's basically called Astrology Summer Camp through the Faculty of Astrological Studies. I cannot rave highly enough about this. It was phenomenal. My brain is super full. We did like astrocartography. We did classes on prenatal eclipses and how they can affect us. Eclipse cycles, which was like the Saros cycles, which was so fascinating. Now I'm actually planning on doing basically a private podcast episode all about that specific part of my experience. You guys don't need to hear about my amazing time in Spain, Barcelona, and Holland because you guys are here for the astro nerdy stuff, which I will be doing a private podcast episode just for society members. Society members also are going to get a copy of my notes from each of my classes. Now, we were there for 5 days. We did 4 classes a day, and there were lectures every night. That's a lot of stuff to convey. And I'm going to do my best to just get out some of the interesting points and tidbits and things like that. And that'll be as a resource in the Suburban Witches Society, which is super fun if you're a bit of an astro nerd like me. So head on over. That link obviously is in the description box because that's where they all are. And I hope to see you there. Next week on the podcast, I'm going to be answering a listener question around how to know if your readings are accurate. So you definitely want to check that one out if you're doing any form of readings. Now, we're going to specifically be talking about tarot and oracle, but I mean, you can also sub that in for runes or tea leaf readings or any other form of divination reading. I'll see you there.